So you have people who are holding them and will eventually grade them with PSA. So that pop report number is going to go up. The supply is going to go up. But you know this, man.
Episode 606 of Lukas, Tigers, and Bronzo Mine. Like this, hit the like button, smash the subscribe button. A lot of you guys are, new listeners, or you might have joined us, in 2022. We have no fee for our content. Our fee or our ask of you guys is if you think we do a good job. And now it's, bigger than our show. We have Luka Nation short clips. Shout out to Shane, who helps us with that. To make things a little more digestible. We have an amazing content team, Alex, Manny, MBT, who post, ideas, topics, discussions on our IG page. So all we ask, the only fee is if you think we do a good job, subscribe, leave a review on Apple. That kind of stuff means the world to us. As we've said, I haven't said this in a while, we'll never charge for our content. So, this is always free. We love you guys. So episode 6.
A big thank you to the listeners and to the sponsors for allowing us to make it free. We like these guys. I mean, that's it's the key. We show up 606 episodes strong, and we're not stopping anytime soon, man. And just
having more fun than ever,
dude. I mean, it really is. I love the community. Join the Discord if you haven't gotten in there yet. We still have some of our IG groups going. Lots of fun stuff going on Instagram. We're having a lot of fun. Announcements, right? You're going to hear from us a little bit more over the next 3 weeks. Mid Collective is coming, and that's going to be a lot of fun, right? It's 3 weeks from tomorrow, I think it starts. So we'll start, kind of talking about that as we get a little more information about what's going to be there. Not for any other reason other than, we don't go to too many shows. So, Andrew talked about Culture Collision. We talked about all that stuff when he went. We're going to be at Min Collective, and we just want to make sure that anybody who's going, if you have questions, let us know. If you're on the fence about going, send us a message. We'll see what we can do. Obviously Collectible, who's throwing it, and not like Spotlight Ranger throwing it. They really, when we talk to them, they really want to make this about the hobby. They really want to expand it to people who might not otherwise be involved in this stuff. So it's a pretty cool and altruistic thing, I believe, that they're doing. And it's
fucking hard to throw a show, dude.
It's hard. It's very, very hard,
and it's not lucrative. It's not lucrative.
The point is, we're gonna start. Once they give us information about the show and stuff like that, let us know. But also, Collective is a partner. We do an episode with them, once a week, the Fractional Report. So, like I said, if you're on the fence, you got questions, you need information, send us a message. We'll get it on to Collectible. We'll see, so we can't help bridge the gap of getting you there.
Let me paint you guys a picture. Let's say the show is the worst show you guys have ever went to. Let's say, hypothetically, worst show you've ever went to. Dude, this is the second week of March Madness, and you get to be in Vegas for it. So all you guys sports gamblers, all you college basketball nuts, dude, hotels in Vegas are cheap. Flights to Vegas are cheap too. You're going to have the show there if you want to go. And I think it's like $15-20 for general admission. There's like the VIP and signature stuff if you want to go that route. But let's say the show's terrible. And I think it's going to be amazing. We got off a call with him just a few hours ago. I think it's going to be amazing. But let's say it's not your vibe. Bro, post up in the sports book. You get drink vouchers. You get to watch March Madness. And then you go out and, you still get the access to all the events. So there's going to be tons of free events after the show. Hakkasan, open bars, all that stuff. So I highly, highly, highly recommend it if you're on the fence. I'm doing my best to be there, even though it's my sister's graduation from Drexel. We have a house in Mexico with the family. But, dude, I'll tell you, man, I've never had a bad time in Vegas. They know how to run that city. That city's sick.
It's Vegas. Did I mention
I already told you my Vegas story, man. That was the first time I've ever been in Vegas. A Finn, a Costa Rican, and an Israeli walk into MGM. They get the penthouse. Andrew flies in with a $500 wager on Drexel, and then the rest is history.
3 best friends that anyone ever had. 3 best friends. No?
Dude, I am pumped.
And then there were 3 wolves in the wolf pack. Lone wolf, and then there were 3. No?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen Hangover. It's a classic.
You've seen it. Have you
Yeah.
seen all of them?
Yeah, they get weirder.
Yeah. I mean, they're basically the same movie, though. But Mr. Chow makes the movies. I'm just saying. Chow makes the movies.
I would agree.
So, what do you want to chat about today? We brought up Mint Collective, which is great. We're still doing our Whatnot show, guys. So I guess I'll do it again Sunday morning. A lot of people messaging me today. They're getting their cards. They're getting the stuff that they bought last week with freebies. I've got a couple messages today saying, this was a cool freebie that you sent in. I've never seen this before, which, I'm trying to add a little fun into the hobby with my freebies now. People are like, I never saw that card. It's a rookie of Kyrie, so I'm having some fun with it. I'm getting some nice messages, a lot of positivity there. So, come join us. It's a cool, hour. I don't know if I'll have a box to break. Maybe get some blasters or something like that. We'll figure it out. But I got some lots, some slabs and stuff like that, and we'll have a blast. And I'm trying to think what the hell else. We got the Whatnot show.
Card Talk's going to be at Bleecker if you guys are in the New York City area this weekend. Right? It's this weekend, 7th. Is it the 7th? Let me pull it up.
It's March 10th, I believe. Those guys are going to be the Ryan's first trip to New York City, which is very important.
March 10th,
so
7 to 10 p.m. So that's next Thursday,
March
1
10th.
week from today.
Exactly. March 10th, Thursday night. It's a good time for a live.
We get a ton of messages about people who want to do something in the hobby outside of cards. This is a good opportunity. Bleeker's hiring. So we always think, and Cage, we've talked about this, you either, a lot of people want to quit their job, jump into entrepreneurship. But I'd say if there was one blessing of COVID, it's that you could kind of inch your way into being an entrepreneur. You don't have to take that, dive all in the deep end and say, I'm going to be an entrepreneur, quit your job, all that stuff. With remote, with the way the world works, with internet, with all these companies popping up, you could reach out and say, I'd be willing to do 10, 20 hours a week. These are my skills. I'd love to help, and let's see if that evolves into anything. Also, while keeping your main hustle. So all you guys out there who want to do more in the hobby, Bleeker's hiring. Reach out. They're a great business, great people behind it. And it's the only card shop in New York. So, I mean, if you want to talk about potential market, it's a big market.
Nice. Love
what
it.
Is that Leah telling you that she got 105 now on her math test?
101. She got 101. She got 101. No. Sometimes I gotta yell to get people to do stuff. So I'm doing this, and my son's home, and he doesn't know where his phone is, and he can't find it, and I don't want to stop to go look for his phone. So I asked her to do it, but she's pretending like she's asleep. So it's a whole to do. You can't get.
I have a question for our audience. Yeah. Is 101% a real number? You guys out there tell me, is that a real number?
Listen, you are having trouble with this concept, but she did this peer tutoring thing, and with it, she got extra credit. So she probably only got a 99 out of 100 on the test, but then there's 2 extra points added on for her being a good, helper to the other kids. So
I know, but you know this. You've worked at companies. People like to flex there. You'll give your guy, here, Michael. Here, I need you to do this. He'll be like, I'm right on. I'll give you 110%. And I'm always there thinking, you can't even do that. How can you give more than 100%?
You can't. You are right. Seriously, you cannot. You can't. You can't get more than. No, it's just I'm going to give you a topic. You want to talk today? Tell me about the games that are going to be on tonight. Tell me about the NBA. Tell me about some good games going to be on. And tell me what you think about the NBA right now. Tell me what you think about. I had a take about Joel Embiid potentially being the MVP, being a little bit of kryptonite for Giannis. Giannis and the Bucks. It took everything they had, including obviously paying off the refs to beat the Heat. Kendrick Perkins has been saying all along the Bucks are not making it to the Eastern Conference Finals. It's going to be the Heat and the Sixers, and even after last night's win by the Bucks, he's sticking with that. The funny part about that is it doesn't matter if it's the Bucks or the Heat. To me, James Harden all of a sudden looks like he's a player. And the surprising thing for me, and I'll shut up right after this point, and then you tell me what you think, and you can deal with the West yourself. Tyrese Maxey looks really, really good with Harden there. I don't know if Harden's creating a shot for him, if it's a spacing thing, if it's the pick and roll, opening up that third option. But the three of them have averaged 20 points or more a game since he's been there. It's been like a real cool big three that, everybody was probably expecting the pick and roll of Harden and Embiid, but the fact that Maxey's been so involved has been a revelation for that team. They're playing team ball and they look like they're having fun. So talk to me.
I mean, you said it right there. You nailed it. So like with Maxey, he's the third option. So he gets, first off, people help off of him onto Embiid and onto Harden. So he gets, it's sometimes it's a game of interest in the sense like, if you get a little bit extra breathing room, it's that much easier to make your shots. These guys are all pros. They can make 20 out of 20 when it comes to in practice, but when someone's tight, it's harder. So he gets a little bit more breathing room. Dude, I got to ask you or tell you, that whole game with the Heat, I felt the Bucks were outcoached. And my dilemma with the Bucks I think they're a very talented team. But the last 15 games, man, they haven't held teams under 100 points. And I'm sitting here thinking, you have Drew Holiday, who's a really, really good defender. You have Giannis, who's a defensive player of the year. You have Serge Ibaka. I know they're missing Brook Lopez. That's a big miss. He was the league leader in blocks. This team, to me, seems to take their foot off the gas and let teams score more points than I think that they should. Their defense isn't where it needs to be. And I'm sitting here thinking, Coach Buckholzer, if they don't make the finals, do they fire him? Do we get a Phil Jackson type of coach in there to coach Giannis really for him to take that next step? I don't know the answer. It's more of a question I had because to me, the Bucks are way more talented than the Heat. But to let the Heat hang around in that game, especially put up 119 points to Jimmy Butler, PJ Tucker, Bam, Tyler Hero, they're a good team, but they're not stacked. What gives, man? Am I onto something? Or the Bucks? You've never been a Bucks believer, so where do you see their weakness? Where are they lacking, if anywhere?
The Bucks. I mean, you've always hated on Budenholzer. The craziest thing about it is I like Giannis. If you watched even that game where the last second it came down to, refs giving it away, is Drew Holiday really your last second option when you're down one and you need a basket? Is that just a matchup? Is it because
the ball was tipped to him?
No, it was tipped to him, but
it was tipped to Bobby Portis and he was standing right there.
It was Bobby Portis got the rebound. It was to Drew Holiday. He brought the ball up. There was plenty of time to set up a play. It wasn't like 3 seconds. It was like 10 seconds on the clock. And Drew Holiday takes the shot. And he drove and he beat his man. And maybe he was beating this guy all game. And maybe they don't go to Giannis because Embiid's there. Maybe Harden is on Middleton. And maybe it's just a matchup. I don't know. But I mean, not Harden and Embiid. You know what I'm talking about. It's the
Middleton is probably I would say Middleton is their guy in the clutch.
But this is the funny part, right? So Middleton, during the bubble run, we were making a lot of statements before Giannis just took off in the finals and before Giannis became it was like there was gamma radiation in his knee injury. He had a knee injury and then he became the Hulk. It was crazy. I don't know what
it's matchup. Okay, it's matchups. Like Giannis could do better against the Ayton, but Bam is a tough matchup because Bam is a big guy and he kind of negates Giannis' advantage.
But I mean that's part of it, right? And I think Embiid is a bad matchup for him also. And I think Maxey's a hell of a defender, and I think they put him maybe on Holiday. And Harden is going to be. What'd you say?
I would worry. I mean, I agree, but Holiday's a big fucking dude. He's strong, man. Did you?
So I mean, look, and he bodied up and he got that basket. But I mean, you asked me what my thought is about them is, there are teams that have superstars. When it was the last second, Michael Jordan, superstar, was going to take the shot. When Dallas was there, Dirk Nowitzki was going to take the shot. I'm showing my age, obviously, right? Steph Curry is going to take the shot. Maybe Clay. But
not Magic. Not Magic.
Yeah, but Magic was facilitating, and he would only give it to Kareem, and Kareem was just as good of a player. Magic was, was a point guard. It was a different game. He wasn't a 3-point shooter. It wasn't that kind of stuff. But the fun part about it is everybody knows. I mean, LeBron, he's going to pass it to Danny Green. I mean, he'll take the shot. Wink. Or maybe he won't take the shot. Who the hell knows? But Giannis, it's difficult to give him the ball at the last second because he doesn't shoot foul shots extremely well. You know what I mean? That's, if I were going to say one thing about that team, it's I would rather bank on a superstar, a team led by a star that's going to be able to get a shot off at the end of the game. And if they get fouled, they'll sink the free throws. And I mean, I think that's where I go. I mean, that and you've impressed upon me. I can't disagree with you. You have beaten down Coach Butthole more than anybody except Anthony Lynn, and I think you were the reason he got fired. So
it's something I'm thinking about. You don't really know what goes on behind the scenes. You don't. Like it's impossible to know. And he won a championship last year, but it's I'm curious, and we'll see with Brook Lopez coming back. I think this should be the best defensive team in the league with the talent, the length that they have. And I think Dante DiVincenzo might be a big loss for them because that's a gritty guy that's going to get in your mug. But to have Giannis, to have Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday, Serge Ibaka, Brook Lopez, I would like to see them, start winning on the defensive end a little bit more. But that could come. I want to talk about the Grizz. Gage, if you had to give me your top, some players, top 25, under 25, give me the guys that come to mind.
The top 25 guys in the NBA right now?
Under 25 years old, the young.
Under 25.
And don't
Lukas still under 25.
Lukas 23.
Trey, Ja. I mean, if Zion ever played, sure. But he's not playing. LaMelo and Edwards. Booker's finally over 25.
Right there, yep.
Yeah, but I mean,
that's perfect.
Go through the last couple of draft classes, right?
How about backcourt?
Okay, backcourt only.
Tyrese
Halliburton. I mean,
the pair.
You mean the best backcourt overall under the age of 25?
Best backcourt.
Backcourt overall. Devontae Graham and CJ McCollum.
Definitely. But it's Clay and Curry. Booker,
Curry, clearly.
Booker and
CP3.
But a guy you missed at under 25, and a guy you missed in the two guys you missed in their backcourt is Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum.
They're under 25, both of them.
Brown just turned 25. Tatum isn't 25.
Wow.
So my point in that, we're always Jaws.
I didn't go back to 17. I stopped at 18. I stopped at Luka and Trey. But yeah,
and a lot of people omit them. And dude, this team, I will tell you, I went back and looked at their schedule, and their recent run has been a very easy schedule. So keep that in mind. But I think that this backcourt doesn't get enough love. And I think Jason Tatum doesn't get enough love. And what made me say that is I watched JJ Redick does a really good podcast with players. And I like to see what players think about, what's their mindset, what are they thinking about off the court? How do they present themselves? And I'll tell you, the more and more I listen to Tatum, this guy's a superstar, man. He's not scared of the spotlight. He's charismatic. He could handle the mic, and he says the right things. And one of the things he says is when the noise of they need to break up Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, we didn't want that to permeate our team. So Jaylen and I, we talked about this a lot, and our question was always to each other, do you hear this, etc. And we'd always ask each other, do you want to go elsewhere? And they both said no. And the reason is if you have someone who's maybe a top 10 young star in the league, why would you not want two of them on your team? We're still away from our prime. We're both very hard workers. Jaylen, he gave praises, one of the hardest workers in the league. I think I'm far from my prime. I got so much to grow, but why would I want to get rid of or not want to play alongside someone who is as talented as Jaylen Brown? So he said this on the JJ Redick podcast. And I'm sitting here thinking
Duke homers.
What'd you say? Cucumbers, yeah. Dude, JJ does a good job interviewing. I'll tell you, it's not your typical interview, but he does a good job. And I'm thinking, okay, how come Tatum's not a play? Best defense, top 3 offense. I know you're not a big Tatum guy either, in the sense you think you respect his talent, but you just think he's a notch below. But I'm thinking he might be the closest to his prime out of all the other guys we mentioned. Even putting Luka and Ja Morant into that consideration, they're 2 years younger. So I'm wondering if we see a Celtics run in the next 1, 2, or 3 years. And actually, that's my play today. Now, the jury's out on Tatum. Some people, he's no doubt he's great. Is he elite? Is he right below? Like right now, I would put him in a Donovan Mitchell category, right? And to make him really investable, we need him just a little bit better. But are the Celtics a sleeper in the East? I mean, they just beat the Sixers. They have the best. They have the best defense in the league. They're streaking. Is this team one move away? Is this team here this year? And if you believe they are, I actually think you're getting Tatum's card dirt cheap. So I'm going to bring you guys. I know the silver is so out of style for whatever reason, but I'm just going to use the silver card. You might go for his green. A lot of people. I think you gave the play on the green a little while ago.
Mm-hmm, I did.
But his silver, let's just use that card. It's actually flat. It's actually down a little bit in the last 3 months, which is shocking. It was in December, early December, it was about a $1,400 card. Right now, the last sales were $900, $820, $885. And this is not a high pop card. So silver is $700 pop. There's also some BGS is graded. But look, I think this is a card you could get at a show for $850 or a trade near that value. And I think there is upside to Tatum that we've kind of disregarded when we've gotten into the Luka hype.
I like it. I do. I definitely do. Before I get into my play, my story, and something I'm going to be bringing to Luka Nation over the coming episodes, I have a question for you.
Yes.
And you hit on it without hitting on it. We talked about this, and who was it? We actually had a little text communication with some folks about this also. And I said on a recent show, based on something you were saying, that, the silvers for Ja was something we talked about, right? And how Ja is playing as great as he has been. We talked about maybe Zion and how the silver really hasn't come down. It has come down. But the big cards being held by Patrick Bet-David and those guys haven't really, those are still up. And the same thing's happened with Ja. Give credit for a good post. I think it was the Card Ladder guys, maybe Cardboard Chronicle, posted today that the Ja charts are a microcosm of the hobby, and I want to know what you think. And basically, the point being made was on the high end, Ja's cards are moving up, but on the low end, Ja's cards are struggling, and he is the poster child for success this year, right? Like anybody coming into the year would have wanted to have the kind of season, the kind of improvement year to year that Ja has had, right? And yet his lower end cards, what I would call, dare I say, collector cards. Some people might call them investor cards. The rank and file cards that most hobby participants can afford are not moving. So you talked about the silver for Jason Tatum being out of style. You got any thoughts on that, about the investability of, it doesn't matter the player, about some assets, some class of cards?
I mean, I got to tell you, it's a card that you don't love, but the Panini 1 of 1. This is a post with Ja.
1 and 1, right? 1 and 1.
1 and 1. Yeah. I think it's gaining more popularity. I think that set is catching on, and I think it's
the only thing I didn't love about it was the boxes were like from Panini were like $400, and the distributors ran the prices up so much. And the stores were charging $1,200, $1,300 for a box. It was insane.
Right, but
because I opened the box
right
from my LCS and I paid $450 for it.
Okay, let's just stay with me. I think we have to separate that from just secondary market behavior.
Yeah,
right?
100%. But you say I don't like the product. I didn't like the product because of that, because it was run up the price on people, made it a little less accessible. But yeah, you would figure that if the community is paying $1,000 a box the cards are going to have to sell on secondary market to justify that price.
We've seen that, right? In NFTs, we started with mints being like 0.06, like Lukas Tigers NFTs. By the way, all you guys that minted, bought, supported, let people know this is the best NFT product there's ever been. We've lost more money than we've made on it. And give backs and rewards and all that stuff. And honestly, we wouldn't have it any other way because we really are building for the future.
You know what I love? I love that it's there and people message us and say, hey, that was really great. You did me a favor. I minted a Tiger, or I bought one off the secondary market. It's really cool, and we take that and we'll, you have some SGC grading and, they turn around, they spent a little bit of money and we give it right back, So I think it's cool. It's fun stuff, I mean.
And dude, people approach us now with partnerships, ideas, exclusive. We have an awesome week coming up next week. You guys will see. It's symbiotic. It's a symbiotic relationship, right? So it's very cool, man. But we saw mints go from 0.06 to mints were like 5 ETH. Yeah. When there's a mint that's 5 ETH, if it hits, it's going to do well, like Azuki, right? People aren't going to, they've already invested. It's caught on. So maybe Panini 1 is that same type of product. I know it's a high buy-in point and it could really flop. But I think Panini 1 was a high buy-in point, and I think it's doing some things. So maybe look at, the 1 for Jason Tatum, or I don't know. You got to always watch what the market's doing. But it seems silvers are out of style. 1 is super in style.
Okay. I mean, listen, makes sense. That's, and it's a viable alternative, and people seem to really like it. All right. I mean,
I learned this lesson. Do not fight the market. You're always going to lose.
Listen, guys, it's something that we'll keep our eye on, right? We want to be able to tell you what everyone's buying, because you want to have your money first where everybody else's money is going to be. So if it's 1, it's 1. So we'll take a look at it. So there's no baseball anymore, right? And I don't feel comfortable giving you plays of Soto or Acuna or any of these guys until we have a little more clarity on what's going to happen, because baseball can't get out of their own way. And they are going to miss regular season games for the first time in 27 years, which is just ridiculous. And the last time around, they damaged the brand of baseball so much that they basically had to let guys use steroids and create a monstrous homer, the home run battle to get baseball back on the map. So they're going to lose even more fans now. What are they going to have to do? Who knows what they're going to have to do this time? But it's not good. It doesn't look good. And I don't want to give baseball plays until we have some clarity that they're only going to miss the first couple of series, or they'll be back, 2 weeks late or whatever it is. And we can start talking about it. But I am a baseball fan. So I do want to start telling some baseball stories, giving you a little baseball, info, a little baseball knowledge, maybe bring you some guys that you didn't know about. Today's guy I bring up as a tribute to my partner, Andrew. So the card is going to be cheap, but the card is not an old card, because this guy he just wasn't good enough when he played to have any sets. Also, he came up after your tobacco and your caramel cards and before your Gaudy cards. And in the 20s, as you know, Babe Ruth played in there. There's not many cards. There's strip cards and stuff, but only of like the top guys, hand cut cards. But between your 1914, 1915 area there with Cracker Jacks and 1933, there's not much in the way of cards. That Gaudy bubblegum set, it's a huge set, and it's a historic set for a reason, because it kind of brought cards back after a little bit of a hiatus. Take a look. If you want to put your Babe Ruth cards in, you see stuff from like 1917, 1921, but they're like, that Baltimore News. They're rare, and they're not big sets like the Gaudy set that has 240 cards in it. It's not a big set like the T206 that's got every person playing in 1909 and 1910, So this guy happened to come up in that time where, even though he pitched in the major leagues for a long time, he didn't have a card. So I'll get to the card in a second. Always knew he was going to be a pitcher. But what's fun about him is he's got a cool name, like everybody in his family did. One of 18 kids. A lot of them didn't survive, right? One was struck by lightning and killed. But 18 kids, and all the brothers were named after presidents. Not many people in the world who have brothers named Benjamin Franklin, not a president, William McKinley, Theodore Roosevelt, Washington Irving, right? Yeah, this guy's name was Ulysses Simpson Grant, Ulysses S. Grant, Stoner. So he pitched parts of 9 seasons in the major leagues with the Detroit Tigers, Pittsburgh Pirates, and the Philadelphia Phillies from 1922 to 1932. Oh, if he could have only hung on another year, maybe they would have put him in the Gowdy set, and it would have been a historic baseball card, right? It would have been amazing. So he's growing up in Texas. One of his brothers, young brother, he was a toddler, was playing with an axe and actually cut off part of his finger. And you think, wow, this is a pitcher? Turns out, after it healed, a little deformed, he was able to throw a heck of a curveball because of it. There are some players who have pitched in the major leagues that have a 6th finger, and they're actually to throw the ball. But yeah, it got put on, it was a little deformed, and he was able to throw a heck of a curveball for it, right? So interesting little tidbit on it. And he had a nickname, Lil, Lil, because he couldn't, as a kid, pronounce his name. He couldn't say Ulysses. He said Lil. So his nickname was Lil. He had a cool breaking curve based on exactly what he did. Couldn't stay up for too long. Played for Ty Cobb. He was one of these guys that probably you'd call him like a quadruple A player, because he was good enough to get into the majors, play 500 ball, beat the Yankees a few times. Had good stuff. He finished like a 50 and 57 record. But when he dropped down, he was too good for AAA. He was like 27 wins and striking out everybody in the Texas leagues, and they bring him back up, and it just not enough to do it. So the card play I have for you today, just to take a look at, and Andrew, do me a favor and type this in on eBay for me. You can pull it up. 1992 Conlon collection, Conlon, and just type number 605. All right, and you'll notice what his nickname is and why I attribute it to you.
Little Stoner.
His name is Lil Stoner.
Look at this.
So it's Ulysses Simpson Grant Stoner. But because he couldn't say Ulysses, his brothers named him Lil. So one of the best baseball names of all time, Lil Stoner, I dedicate to you, my partner, Andrew Goldberg, Lil Stoner. This is a cool set, Conlon collection. It does. There's a cool set on this. You can just take a look at it. They did a couple years of the Conlon collection, and it's guys who had cards, guys who didn't have cards. A cool way of doing 660 cards, I think, in the set. A cool way of doing like a modern take on using old photographs of old players that were otherwise just not. Yeah, see, there's a couple of auctions on it that have other guys from the Conlon set. But I saw this. Talk about one of the all-time baseball names. Not the greatest story, although there's some interesting stuff to it, right? Turns out that, like you, he was a horticulturalist, but he was very good at growing irises, the flower. He was not growing Stoner stuff that we know of. But there you go, 1992 collection.
You're
Lil
something else.
Stoner. Lil Stoner. This is what I think.
I'll tell you guys listening, is there a better storyteller than Cage? The guy had me hooked from
cut off his finger, threw a curveball, but all of it leading up to his nickname. One of the greatest names in baseball. So, guys, let us know if this is something you thought was stupid, or let us know if you think this is a segment that I should do as like my ridiculousness until baseball is announced that we can. I will bring a fun little baseball. It doesn't have to be our play every day because I want to give you guys plays. Not everybody's going to want to go buy a 1992 Conlon Little Stoner. But if you happen to hit the herb every now and again, like my friend here does, it's a cool card to have in your PC.
Bro, that's a hilarious card to send to someone like you haven't seen in a while too, right? Like we bring you guys cards that make money. We bring you guys cards that are hilarious. The other day you gave a dunce cap guy with Carmen Electra next to him, or Pamela Anderson.
Messages from people saying, call Andrew Beldar, which was the Conehead guy's name, Beldar Conehead. People know this shit. People know these plays. Somebody messaged me that they had a whole stack of them, and they're glad we're bringing up cards that are like never get attention and stuff. I mean, it's not everybody's cup of tea, but this one, I've read books. I have a couple. Like, believe it or not, I know better baseball names than Lil Stoner. But I had to bring Lil Stoner up first. Because
you have the arrow card back. But
So that's
You could be the world's sweetest peach, and there's always going to be someone who doesn't like peaches. So we can't have a play for everybody. I mean, people tune in, I think, to us, hopefully to make some money, but most importantly, to have some fun, right? I think the entertainment, the banter, the Coffee with Cage episodes, the lives. I mean, we always say this, I haven't said it in a while, like lead a fish to water type of thing. I know that one I butchered in the beginning, but like, you guys out there should be telling us what to buy now. You've listened to 600 episodes, and oftentimes they do. So I think people very much appreciate these plays.
Listen, this is fun stuff. I mean, played for a bunch of teams. I couldn't resist. Take a look, guys. Look him up. Another cool story. Lil Stoner. Ulysses Simpson Grant Stoner. Lil. And nobody thought anything of it because the word stoner, in the current vernacular, it wasn't popular then. You know what I mean? It wasn't, people didn't call people stoners in the 1920s.
Do you think people smoked weed then? I think that they probably, as culturally as they do now.
Honestly, I have no idea. But I know no one was referring to him as Lil Stoner because they thought he was on drugs. That was not it. But clearly now, I don't know how this is not the most popular baseball player in the world right now. Like, he should be Babe Ruth. Like, I know he wasn't really that good. But with that name, they should have shirts of him. How is nobody marketing this? How is nobody putting Lil Stoner baseball cards out right now? Come on. This is some good stuff. Robco, dope.com. Lil Stoner, that's who you should NFT. Right?
You're $1 million man, $1 million ideas.
I'm just having fun, guys. I hope you guys are as well, because it's hard not to have fun with all the stuff we get to do, all the stuff we get to talk about, all the interactions we have. And you guys, let us know. I mean, I would love to do this kind of stuff. Anything else you got? I mean,
So Gage, last thing. So this is rare in the NBA, where we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games tonight that are basically pick'em games. You don't get that in the NBA often. So I'll go down the board. Tell me what you think. Bulls at the Hawks.
Bulls, Hawks. I would think the Bulls should be favored, but not by a huge amount, even though these are all
pick'ems. So these are all pick'ems.
Wow,
Bulls.
Go Bulls.
Grizz at the Celtics. I'll give you a quick stat. The Grizz are 1-10, 1-11. Last trips to Boston. Jaylen Brown's out with an ankle injury.
Go with the Grizz. Grizz.
Heat Nets.
Ooh.
KD's back.
KD's back tonight.
Yeah.
Where is it? It's at
Brooklyn.
Nets? No.
He just played that tough game last night too, and I think maybe Butler will be out. Larry's definitely out.
I do Nets. I think Durant comes back and says, "You know what? I'm going to drop 50 tonight if I have to." I go Nets.
Supporting cast isn't as bad when you have a true alpha. You have some players over there. You have Patty Mills, Steph Curry, Seth Curry, Drummond.
I like Drummond. You guys know that.
He's a dude. He's big. He's thick too. Like I would not want to battle in the paint with him all night long.
I mean, if you give him enough minutes, he's a guaranteed double-double if you give him the time to do it. You know what I mean? The only problem with him is he doesn't get offensive rebounds as well as the defensive one, and that's an effort thing. So go for it.
Warriors Mavs. So the Warriors just blew, I think, like a 20-point lead to the Mavs in Golden State. Clay's back from illness. Warriors haven't been playing the best ball. Mavs are on a 2-game winning streak, 8-2 at Dallas.
Mavs.
Wow. Revenge game?
No. The Mavs are playing really good ball right now, really good team ball. And something doesn't look right with Golden State. And it's good that they're getting Clay back, but it's going to take a little while for him to actually get back fully. That team is different. I've seen now Wiseman dunking pregame. That team's different with Draymond. And then if they can work, Wiseman in a little bit, Kuminga, they got a lot of players when they're right. they'll be great down the stretch. Just tonight, I wouldn't be.
That whole MVP award is really interesting because that team is infinitely better with Draymond, but no one would put Draymond as the MVP, not even close. And it's interesting when that kind of stuff plays out like that.
I think what you need is a different award. We'll call it the Goldberg. And it's the award for the player who makes their teammates better. Because that doesn't necessarily make you the most valuable player. It makes you the player that makes your teammates better. And I would put Draymond at the top of that list almost every year.
It's a very weird.
Not LeBron.
It's a very weird place to be because when things aren't going well with the team, you have to be the biggest cheerleader. But when things are going really well, you have to kind of be this little porcupine in people's side. It's very kind of this contrarian place to be.
I got a question for you.
Wait. Clippers, Lakers. It's a pick 'em. 2.5 points, but it's 2 points to the Clippers.
I mean, I think the Lakers win that. They can't lose every goddamn game.
You know they've lost every game since the All-Star break? Lost 3-game losing streak?
They're due. I'm due. It can't be black every time in roulette. I'm betting red.
There it is.
No, so here's a question for you.
Yes, sir.
LeBron James is having
to get stomped out. Yes, weird comment.
In his 19th season of the league, he is so much better than anybody else has been in their 19th season in the league that it's ridiculous. True, false, and explain it.
I think if you take 2 data points and compare them, you could always make data do what you want. Like I could find Andrew is the most famous businessman in Tulum under 30. I'm not under 30, but like.
So where I was going with this was what you told me. So I was trying to get you to answer it the same way, which is LeBron in his 19th season is not the same age as almost anyone else in it. He came straight basically out of high school, right? He didn't go to college. So even though, right, he didn't go to college, right? So him in his 19th season is like someone who played 4 years of college in their 23rd season. You know what I mean? Like it's so 19th season for him is a different story, right? So that's one, right? So even though he's in his 19th season, he's 37. So a fairer comparison, I think, than 19th season in would be, okay, who is putting up numbers like LeBron's 27 points per game in their age 37 season, right? Saying it's the 19th season, most people who played in their 19th season who had at least a couple years of college, Michael Jordan, right? I don't even think he had 19 seasons, but if he did, after playing a couple years of college, he would have been 2 or 3 years older than LeBron is now in his 19th season. Kareem played in college a lot. And Kareem's a good example because Kareem, when he was 38, in his 38-year-old season, a year older than LeBron, averaged almost 24 points a game. And LeBron, 27. Not to LeBron's got it, Kareem, but I wouldn't say ridiculous. I wouldn't say it's so far out of proportion. Jordan averaged like 22, 23 a game when he was 38, a year older than LeBron. So your point is right. It really does depend on the data. It's sort of like when somebody pulls our friends from Slab Stocks, when somebody like manipulates their chart and says, hey, look at the Luka, it's down, only down. And they start the chart on the day after Luka hit the bubble 3. And they do the chart, right? And it's straight down from 2000, right? But if you were to widen the chart and you show the chart from when that Luka base card was $65, which is what I was selling it for, yeah, it went up, but it's still up. It went up, went down, but it's still up. It's all about that. It's how you present the data, right? So if you presented 19th season for LeBron, he's double the scoring average of anybody else in their 19th season, you know? But if you present it as, people that age, there are players who have played near the level that LeBron's at. But here's a fun one. The 19th season comparison, right? It's made with Tim Duncan, who had half as many points. It's made with Kareem in his 19th season, who had half as many points, right? And John Stockton, who wasn't even a scorer anyway, and he had half as many points. But let's talk about Duncan. You know, Duncan's team had like 60 wins and won their division, right? Let's talk about Kareem. His team had like 60 wins in his 19th season, and they won the championship. LeBron's team has like 4 wins. I mean, they have more. They have like 20, but they have 30-something losses. They're not winning a championship. They may not even make the playoffs. So there's your real number. Let's add to what the points per game for those people in 19th season. What about what their teams did, right? Because Kareem won a championship in his 19th season, and Duncan won his division and took his team far in the playoffs, won 60 games. So isn't that a more fair comparison? Isn't that? It's all about how you want to present the numbers.
And Chris Paul's the same age as him. We never compare LeBron and Chris Paul. And I think Chris Paul's body, he doesn't dunk as much. You know, he doesn't play physical as much. So I do understand. I mean, LeBron has.
You know what I have to say, right?
What?
Unreal Chris Paul. You get so mad. You're like, I don't know why you have to say that every time I bring up Chris Paul.
No, I mean, LeBron statistically is playing really well. But if you look at their team, they clearly lack like. You know that like clip of the USCLA player? I don't know if you ever seen the circulated when his head's down and the guy picks his head up. Have you ever seen that one?
Yep.
I just feel like their heads are down. Like I feel like that team's whole demeanor, that whole vibe. There's not a lot of optimism coming from the bench or from the team, and I guess to me that has to start with the leadership, doesn't it?
You know who gets votes in the Andrew Goldberg Award of the who makes their teammates better? Caruso. I think they miss players like that hold the team together. The fiber players, the guys who go out there and dive on the ground, and you want to play with that guy, and it elevates your game as well. Who's diving on the ground? You know, who's making plays? Who's playing hard? Westbrook? It looks like he's playing hard. I should correct that. It looks like the game suddenly got hard for him. I mean, it looks like suddenly he forgot how to play. It's like the game is difficult, but that's different than playing hard.
He forgot how to play because, dude, you gotta evolve your game. Like another episode I watched, Chris Paul and JJ Redick. Chris Paul talked about how much he studies the game, how much tape he watches, how much he knows the rules, and how that's helped him with longevity, right? Because you come into the league, you're much quicker, you're much more athletic than everyone. That was Russ. I mean, Russ was incredibly athletic. He was Ja. He was, but that starts to fade. And how are you going to evolve your game? You know, what are you going to do to have longevity? And he still tries to play like he's 24, but he doesn't have it. And that to me is like a net negative. You know, he's really hurt this team, man. It really has.
By the way, am I back? I called PSA today to inquire about the status of grades, and nice. I called at 2:30.
Nice.
And I was told I had 103 people on the phone in front of me waiting to speak to customer service. And that if I wanted to, I could push a button and they would request a callback. That, where if I just disappeared for a second, was PSA calling back 4 hours later. And I have a voicemail. A voicemail just popped up. It's probably going to say, hey, you told us to call you back. Get back online.
Yeah, man. Customer service is a big deal. Customer service is a big deal. I don't know what to say about that. I think the hobby is waking up a little bit. They're a little bit upset. Like, hey, we have cards, you know, from a year and a half ago. Like, come on, like let's get this right. Because they were doing some things well. You know, I think they released the PSA pod, which is kind of cool. They have their set registry, so it's not that PSA doesn't do some things right, and it probably takes time for them to clear things up. But I just think that not having your cards back for over 12 months, that's
what I was calling about.
It's a tough thing. It's tough to stomach because I don't know. I don't know what else to say.
It is what it is. Well, Luka Nation, we want to hear from you. Tell us.
Little Stoner and Jason Tatum.
Stoner. We want to hear about, you know, whether you think this is stupid. Because, you know, if 90% of you are like, come on, Cage, give a real play, make me some money, okay. But, you know, if you guys like the stories, you want me to find more fun stuff like that, I got stories.
Well, hold up. Who told you, who even despite not being a big fan of Michael Porter Jr. told you, hey, collectible, his cards are super oversold?
Yeah.
So, I mean, there have been plenty of money-making plays. Harry Potter. I mean, I can't remember them all. We do a fucking episode every day, but there's plenty of money-making plays. Sometimes
we're having some fun. And, you know, baseball, come on. I mean, you know, there's baseball, if you can't find stories about baseball with the history of baseball, that's going to be a problem. Baseball's been around forever. They've managed to find a way after 150 years to step on their own feet again and trip themselves up. And it's pretty sad. It's a pretty sad thing. But guys, we love chatting with you. Send us a message. We got, like I said, 3 weeks coming, before Mid Collective. If you're on the fence, send us a message. We got some other fun stuff coming up in the next couple of weeks. And, yeah, that's it. And to my Luka Nation Fit fam, I'm eating healthy, guys. I blimped up. I got my 3 weeks to go for Mint Collective. I don't fit in any of my clothes. I'm seeing whether or not I can starve myself.
Can I talk about one more thing, maybe 3-4 minutes?
No.
Because I just saw this post. I think it's a good post.
Shoot.
And
I like good posts.
I do think it's a good post to show the hobby is not really always the most I don't know how to word this, but stay with me. So LaMelo Ball Prism Base is a $340 card. And there's only what
I would say
575 of them graded. $300 card, 575 of them graded. The base has been, in culture of a hobby, no one likes base. But that's low pop, PSA 10. Would you buy LaMelo base 500? Pop $370? That's going down, that's going lower.
No.
Because more is getting graded.
Yeah. I wouldn't buy it because it's like a shit coin that's priced based on only 10% of it being released, and that every month they're going to dump more, and you even have to throw in an interesting thing we're going to have to talk about it, and some smart person will figure this out, a way to collate it in the whole 9 yards, or it's going to be not as easy as all that. During the last year, because PSA has their backlog and because they are shut down and doing their stuff, believe it or not, their best-in-class registry, their best-in-class pop reports, has actually lost value. And here's why. Let me follow through with me. Because people were forced to grade elsewhere, the pop report for PSA's grading for the last year, for cards that have been graded in the last year, cards that came out in the last year, is worth less than it is for cards that were graded 2019 and before. Because the 2019 and before, unless you're talking about, Bowman first autos, you got more cards being graded by other companies. You got CSG grading, you got SGC grading, you got Beckett grading, not that much, but you got Beckett grading stuff, right? But more so than ever before, right? So my problem with the LaMelo and Edwards and almost anything, you could throw in probably Herbert, Burrow, any of the football guys from this year. I can't say Prism because, believe it or not, it's not even out yet, right? Prism from what's going to be last year. We may have the NFL draft in April before Prism. We're going to be talking about these new rookies before Prism comes out for the last class. Anyway, I don't want to get off on that tangent. Forget it. I'll have a rant about something else.
Sorry,
but so the reason, of course, is that you can't figure out how many are out there because you have this tranche, this bucket of graded by other companies. SGC graded a bunch of these, and you can't really tell how many it did. CSG, Beckett graded them, PSA graded some, and then you have this other tranche, this other basket of people, myself included, who have their LaMelos and Edwards, heck, some Wisemans, some Halliburton, some Cole Anthonys, just sitting in a box in card savers, waiting to hear what happened. Now, CSG is getting these things now from me. I'll tell you that much. But that's just moving them from one bucket to the other, neither of which are going to be captured by the PSA pop report. So you have people who are holding them and will eventually grade them with PSA. So that pop report number is going to go up. The supply is going to go up. But this, man. You can quantify demand for the cards that have been released in the last 18 months, 16 months, whatever it may be. Quantifying the actual supply
is tough.
Has gotten much more difficult because of the PSA.
It's got to come from the manufacturer level. It's got to come from the manufacturer level. And I think it will. I think they're realizing that. Because this is a relatively new phenomenon, right? And companies catch up. It has to come manufacturer like this is how many of each there are. I think it would be super, super helpful.
Well, let's start with this premise. Let's start with this premise, right?
Sure.
They made more Zions and Jaws than they made Lukas and Trace. Right? They made more Lukas and Trace than they made
Yes.
Jason Tatum's. So from 17 to 18, they increased the production. From 18 to 19, they increased the production. Is there anybody out there who really wants to make a legitimate argument to us that with the success of the 2020 product with Ja and Zion, that in 2021, when LaMelo and Edwards and those guys came out, that they made less?
It feels like they did. And I chose that word carefully. Feels like it did.
Not to me. Because I watch breaks and stuff, and people were breaking that stuff like crazy. Why it feels like it's you is just you haven't seen the PSA versions pop up as much as you saw the PSA versions of Zion and Ja pop up. That's the deal. You know, people were not paying.
Company has 3 letters: CSG, SGC, ISA, PSA. What HGA? What's the deal with that?
I don't know, man. It's sort of like a serial killer or a assassin. You have to have 3 names. So I lump serial killers, assassins, and grading companies together, I guess, in my brain.
Dude, Mr. Brooks is a good movie. All right. Luca Nation.
Mr. Brooks?
Have you seen it?
Okay. Yeah, I have. I'm just shocked. You don't watch movies, and then when you come out with one, it always surprises me which one. Like, you get the Pitch Perfect lines.
Bum, bum.